sign that away.
That's right.
Jennifer Bushman's here. She's been here before. Good to see you again.
It's awesome to be back. Always great to be in Indianapolis. Thank you so much for having me.
Sure. You're a chef and a best-selling author and a mom, and you're utilizing all those titles and roles
It's
today.
true. Well, we're back to school, and I feel like everybody's kind of gathering back around the table, and we know that kids just kind of inherently are picky eaters. And so what we're going to talk about today was first to start off with, how do we get them to start to try more foods? Because that seems to be the age-old question. You know, how can we get them, at the very least, to give it a little taste?
Sure.
Right. Yeah. And so what's interesting is, children actually have more taste buds than adults. They have about 30,000 taste buds, and they're around the sides of their mouth and on the roof of their mouths. So when they say to you, something tastes very bitter, it probably really does. You think about something like asparagus or broccoli that tastes so bitter to you. Imagine if you had literally 3 times the taste buds that you have now.
Oh, yeah. I can remember the first time you remember sampling certain things as a child and kind of going, initially, did I love broccoli? No.
Right.
Is it still my favorite? No. But you ate it because it's healthy for you.
You ate it because probably someone said to you, you'll get dessert, so you sort of choked it down. And I can remember
Dad's
hiding things in my napkin. My mom once found things under my toy box.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, all kinds of things.
Pass off what you can on the dog.
That's right, on the dog. We didn't have a dog at the time. But so that's part of it, is that they really do not like to have some of those things. So we're going to later in the show be able to make something that's really caramelized and sweet and full of flavor without adding a lot of sugar.
Great.
Now, the other thing is, kids will actually eat 90% of the foods they participate in making. It's kind of like, I'm proud of it, so everybody should try it. The idea here is that get them out to the grocery store and really looking at their foods, teaching them about where they come from, and allow them to start to pick things. So we've talked about this Seafood Watch app before. I love having them type in the fish that they're looking at and where it comes from. And then, of course, Seafood Watch has done a great job in making it really easy for kids because it's red light, green light, or yellow light. So red light is they can't eat it. It's not good for you. It's not sustainable. Green light is you can have it all day long. It's something that's plentiful, farmed, or wild. And then, of course, the yellow is something that we're watching. And it creates this really great conversation about, where are things? There are grocery stores now that have pictures of the farmer, and so things that are local. And then what happens is they kind of come home and they have a story to tell about the foods that they're choosing. So that's also very important.
Well, and they realize that fish aren't square and breaded naturally.
That's it. That's exactly right. And also, what am I going to have? Sustainability is what am I going to have for my kids to eat as well. So it's really giving them some little tiny touch points about what's sustainable. So that's the other thing, is if they are involved in picking it, and even making the grocery store a treasure hunt. And for example, look at this gorgeous, we've got things like orange cauliflower, and there's purple, and there's even a beautiful bright green. So it's, well, what do you think looks good? And then cooking method, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, is absolutely key. Because if you can imagine a vegetable like this, it's interesting to have a green bean all by itself, but by itself it doesn't inherently have a lot of flavor. When you blanch it, that actually starts to bring out the sugars. So if you think, okay, would you rather have something that's raw with just a spoonful of raw sugar, or would you rather have something that's maybe like a sugar syrup? And so by bringing out that water, intermingling it with the vegetable with its own sugar, it gets sweeter, right?
And with those taste buds that they have.
They need something that's sweeter. If you roast it, then imagine that what you've done is you've taken those sugars and you've turned them into caramel sauce. So do you see the difference? It's the difference between a spoonful of sugar and the difference between a spoonful of caramel sauce. So allowing things to brown, and it's something that I just wrote about in Parent Magazine, allowing things to brown a little bit will often get them to eat it when they won't eat it otherwise. So it's that difference of caramelization in sugar. So the cooking method itself can have a lot to do with it. So the difference between, steamed or...
Well, Brussels sprouts always come to mind when you're talking about that. Versus steamed Brussels sprouts, Right now, if you roast them in the oven, you get that caramelization, or grill them. It's a different story.
And the aroma is entirely different. So broccoli, those acids and alkalines come out more in the water. So when you're boiling, Brussels sprouts, children will not eat things that smell bad as well as taste bad. We do eat with our noses.
We do.
Imagine trying to eat, with your nose plugged. So it's a situation where literally, if it's fishy in the oven and it's smelling fishy out into the kitchen, they're not going to want it either. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make this great little skewered recipe in just a little bit with several different sauces as a way to kind of make dinner fun and get them involved in it.
Well, if you have multiple picky eaters, one sauce might appeal to one child more than another, and then you're not being wasteful, which sometimes I find myself doing. For the sake of saving some money and some time, I don't experiment, because if they all say no and it's something they don't like, suddenly I've made a meal that I end up eating.
Well,
and they're not.
You were just saying that your mom was like, I'm not a short order cook.
Right.
I'm not going to make different things for everybody. This is it. Yeah. So the idea that there are foods that the entire family, including the adults, like to eat is going to be really important. Great. So we're going to do this great skewer, beautiful little lemon creme fraiche to go with it for the adults, and some other little sauces for the kids.
Fun.
All right.
Good
Sounds
stuff.
good.
Verlasso.com is the web address. We're going to make sure we put that link on indystyle.tv.
There's a lot I think we don't know about sustainable seafood. We hear it, it's kind of a buzzword, but what exactly does it mean? And of course, we're going to get some great recipes too. We've got Jennifer Bushman still here, award-winning author.
I love being here. I graduated from Carmel High. So I lived in Carmel. I was there for 4 years. I feel like every time I come back, what is happening? Indy's
so when you caramelize beans, you're really caramelizing
them. That's how I learned. That's right. I moved from California, and is it Carmel? And
no.
So we're talking, we've got a great recipe. Kids, we want kids just to try things one bite at a time. Right. It takes on average 12 times for kids to try something. It's like you've got to give it to them and again and again. And so you're just trying to sort of get those hypersensitive taste buds to try something that's delicious. We're going to make a salmon recipe, and part of it is that, salmon is very mild. It's also high in omega-3s. So it's something that they need, but it's also a great entry fish because it's not super fishy. This one today, this is Verlasso salmon. This gill tag is fun for the kids too. We were talking about using the app in the store. There's actually a QR code on the back of this tag, and they can meet the farmer. So you scan the tag, it tells you where in the world this is off of the coast of the Patagonia, and you get to meet the farmer that was actually farming it. So there's a story about them and what they're doing. So again, a way to kind of give it some backdrop for the kids so that they're more engaged in eating it.
Makes it more real. They can appreciate where it's coming from.
The journey. And the more connection that you can create, the odds are the more they're going to remember it and want to be able to try it once it comes to the table.
Very cool.
So what we're going to do is we're actually going to make some skewers. You're going to notice, first of all, how mild this is. That has to do with where it's raised and also the way in which it's fed, because we were talking about just because a fish is organic doesn't mean it's sustainable. And right now the problem with farm salmon is they're taking a lot of little feeder fish out of the ocean to feed farm salmon. Things like anchovies and herring and sardines, because salmon are carnivores.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and so the problem is the feeder fish population in the world is depleted by 70%. And so there's not going to be a lot of these things to feed farm salmon any longer. So this Verlasso does something different. They actually have a model that doesn't use as much feeder fish in it. They use a yeast in the diet that gives them a lot of omega-3s, so great for the kids, but you can't...
and consistency, too. You want to know exactly you're going back and you're going to get the same taste.
Every time, and also same fat content and same omega-3s. So this is same omega-3s as wild and about the same fat content, 1% per serving. So what I'm doing, though, is I'm putting it into little bites, and we were talking about, getting that caramelization on there, and I'll show you, you can start to see that little bit of browning.
Oh, already.
We want to make sure that they get nice and caramelized. Well, and same with the tomatoes, but you could use green beans, you could use peppers if they like. I mean, heck, you could do something even like carrots. You could start to grill up the carrots if you wanted to.
Good.
And then the little sauces. Now, we know kids love to dip. This actually, you could do a tomato sauce.
Okay.
If they're dipping in tomato sauce, they can actually get, for every quarter cup, a full serving of vegetables.
Oh, wow.
So kids won't eat anything else.
Okay.
Sure.
Give them a tomato sauce. You can buy a nice organic tomato sauce, and they're going to end up with the same thing as if you'd put a pile of vegetables
And the
in front
distinction
of
is
them.
tomato sauce, not like straight up ketchup.
Right. Well, because right.
Just saying.
Well, I mean, they do love those sugars and salts. Look at that caramelization now.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yes.
But the problem too is that we want them to have a balanced diet. I mean, you know that, and they're going to naturally, with all those taste buds, gravitate towards things that have more sugar and salt. It's what they like, the sweetness. And then we can put some other sauces out. I've got a peanut sauce. I've got a little bit of a ranch dressing, if that's what they like.
Standby.
Standby. And then I'm going to make one, though, for the adults. Now, this is creme fraiche, which is not quite as tart as a sour cream. So it's actually a cultured cream. They make it with buttermilk and a little bit of cream. And I'm going to add, you can put cumin. I've got a little smoked paprika in this, and also some lime juice. Now, what people don't realize is that an acid like lime juice or lemon juice will actually bring out the sweetness in foods. So it lowers bitterness level and brings out sweetness. So we can drizzle the fish with it. We can drizzle the fish with it, and it'll actually taste sweeter.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Now, I've got some here for you guys to skewer if you want to. Some tomatoes. I'll give you a little taste of this, or you can just try the sauce with it. Either way, I'm going to add a little bit more lime juice to this, and we'll let these cook away.
I knew that was going to happen.
Now, going to the grocery store, we're talking about not all places are created equal. We're just saying some retailers are really doing a good job trying to support sustainability.
Right.
Kroger has a whole new sustainability program in their markets, and they actually are, for example, Verlasso is in the case with the gill tag. So you know that it's the fish you're buying. Because part of it is that, I don't know if you saw that crazy study that said that more than 70% of the fish that you buy in the restaurant or in a grocery store isn't what you thought it was.
Right.
Oh, yes.
That was crazy.
That's right. They're passing off lesser fish for halibut and vice versa.
Exactly. Sea bass and some of those things are
perches and perch. Yeah, I've got a restaurant friend.
Yeah.
So
that tastes like another bite.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that good?
Yeah, that's really, really good.
And so what I usually do is I'll cook up a little bit of this, let it chill, and then I'll pack it in the lunch, and you'll see some ideas for lunch. I've got some cubed cheese. The apples are easy. Take a look at this. It's actually a chill. You freeze this, and then you can throw it into the lunch bag. Or I know you were playing with my Minion lunchbox earlier. We love my Minion lunchbox, but you can actually pack these things in. So what I normally do is leave the ingredients separate, the little dipping sauce separate, and then when they get to school, they can take a skewer and kind of dip and have everything together for lunch too.
Well, and if you have children of a certain age, it gives lunch a little sophistication too. A little presentation.
Well, you never know what's going to end up getting eaten anyway.
Exactly.
So you might as well give them some other options. And the little cubes of cheese are good. And then that way, at least you have a shot at things getting eaten that you've packed.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all you can ask for.
I mean, if it all ends up in the trash, what are you going to do? But at least you've tried. And remember, try it again, try it again, try it again. We have to keep introducing these foods. Every imprint that they're making now is what they will carry with them as an adult in terms of what they'll try. And for dads, kids mimic the eating of dads much more than they do moms. So it's very important that you're not a meat and potato dad, because the kids will follow you.
I'm a meat and a meat dad, actually. Thank you so much. We're going to make sure the link's going to be on IndyStyle.tv.